Prakash Javadekar is Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, representing the government of the BJP point of view, and he's taking on Tom Vadakkan. Tom Vadakkan, let's begin with you. You can put your complaint directly to Prakash Javadekar, briefly to start the debate, and then he'll respond. Is that all right, Mr. Javadekar? Let's hear the complaint first. Now, Mr. Vadakkan, you've latched on to something that Narendra Modi has said on overseas soil. But is it or is it not true that Narendra Modi is the first Prime Minister to visit the UAE in 34 years? So if he laments that fact, what's wrong with it? What are you getting touchy about?
Arnab, I welcome Javadekar ji. Long time no see. I've met him after some time. You have helped us to meet each other. I'm happy for that moment. But let me start with, you mentioned the medicine movement. I want to refer to the UFA movement. I hope I pronounced the word correctly, where I heard the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesman talking about breakthrough, that Pakistan for the first time in the history of India has admitted Kashmir won't be part of the settlement. It is not an issue.
Come to the point.
I'm coming to the point.
Come to the point about today. About Dubai. About what he said in UAE. Come on.
I'm talking about his deliverables in UAE. He talks about a legacy. I'm questioning him on the legacy itself. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji is part of his legacy. Is he disowning Atal Bihari Vajpayee's not going to Dubai? Pratibha Patel ji, the former President of India, was on a 4-day trip to the same state. Is that also disowned by the Honorable Prime Minister?
Okay, Prakash Javadekar.
If he has such a great agenda, he doesn't have, he has to deliver. Before delivering, this business of hype, financial connection with Dubai has been a long story.
It appears to me, Mr. Javadekar, it appears to me, Mr. Javadekar, with respect, that you are, as they say classically, picking holes and trying to find a needle in the haystack to sustain your constant diatribe against the Prime Minister whenever he's traveling abroad. So even if you have to, you look at it through 2 magnifying glasses to try and point out something that you feel insulting. Why is the Congress party getting so touchy about it? Prakash Javadekar, however, why does the Prime Minister need to make a critical reference to previous governments? Why does he need to do that at all?
See, Prime Minister, no code of conduct or rule or constitution says that in foreign land you should not speak truth. You can speak truth from any platform, and that very decently he is doing. What is the problem of Congress is today, by the time you started asking questions, they have already retracted their Anand Sharma's comments. It seems what Tom Vadakkan spoke, so he spoke about everything else but for Anand Sharma's comments. And I'm answering to Anand Sharma because that was in party's press conference. What is the issue? It is the Congress may be upset, it may be uncomfortable for Congress, but truth has to prevail. And if Congress is uncomfortable, nation is not. Congress from Indira Gandhi's day was contemplating that Indira is India. That is not the fact. Therefore, truth will prevail, and in an information age where Congress does disrupt the parliament, UAE and Dubai people were seeing it. In information age, these boundaries have become, it has become, they have been rendered useless in a way because it flows freely.
Wonderful,
so
wonderful, Javadekar ji.
On a foreign side, you should not say.
But if you are so fond of the truth serum, I think you need to take it in India also domestically. The Prime Minister's silence in India, his love for truth would be very interesting if he speaks on Vyapam, if he speaks on his foreign minister's track record, if he speaks on his Rajasthan Chief Minister's track record. If this truth, the people in Dubai are listening, excellent, they are listening, they want to know more. If they have to
Tom Vadakkan, I find you, are you getting a little lost in the argument tonight?
I'm not lost.
Are you getting a little lost in the argument? No, 1 second. So here's a question to you, Tom. Yeah. Because you cannot substitute fact with fake aggression on the program. Is it or is it not true that a country that is India's third largest trading partner and provides India with as much as $12 billion through remittances of Indians living there deserved a visit by an Indian Prime Minister much earlier than now? It's you who are making it. Is he criticizing Vajpayee, etc.? But is he stating a fact? Is he or is he not stating? No. What's it? It's a second point. Is he stating a fact? Let's go on fact first, and I'll get Mr. Javadekar to respond. Is he stating a fact?
1971.
Is he stating a fact, sir?
Began. 1971, Arnab, the story of UAE began.
Sir, is he stating a fact?
Prime Minister called Indira Gandhi was there.
So
what has happened today in Dubai?
So can you look beyond the Gandhis?
With the presence of the current Prime Minister.
So can you look beyond the Gandhis?
That has been going on.
Sir, can you look beyond the Gandhis? Why are you stuck in the Gandhis record? The question...
Wasn't she the Prime Minister of India? So, why are you so stuck on the Gandhis? No, wasn't she the Prime Minister of India?
Is she part of a legislation your record,
which you don't want to accept?
If your record is
the
stuck...
Prime Minister, the President Pratibha ji, 4-day trip, isn't she part of the legacy? Isn't that a... And you contend
Mr. Javadekar,
that the head of the
Mr. Vadakkan, please take a deep breath, think about it, and what are you talking about? Is your problem that anyone who is not a Gandhi is the Prime Minister of India? Because essentially, your argument seems to come down to that, which validates the point made by Prakash Javadekar that you can't see anyone who's not a Gandhi in power. Entire argument seems to be that Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, anyone who's not a Gandhi does not seem to be... You seem to be offended.
She was the President of India, the head of the state. She went there for 4 days.
So your argument is...
come on.
Is she Prime Minister of India? Was she Prime Minister of India?
Why are you getting the Gandhis into it?
No, because your argument is anyone who's... because your argument is... Okay, Mr. Javadekar, turn to respond. No, your argument is anyone who's not a Gandhi or not been appointed from a Gandhi should not have any significant contribution in Indian public life. Prakash Javadekar.
That's twisting it.
Prakash Javadekar.
Actually, Tom should be happy. Tom should be happy because Indira Gandhi visited UAE when it started as UAE. In their initial story, yes, she participated. And that's what he is saying. But after that, now he is the second Prime Minister to visit. Congress should be happy.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
The issue is, Congress is permanently unhappy. And you ask why they are angry. Congress ko gussa kyun aata hai? Because they are out of power. And you rightly said, see what happened earlier. Congress went out of power in 77, but they were back in 80. After that,
let him speak.
1 minute. They supported Charan Singh and brought him down. They supported Gujral and brought him down. They supported Vivekananda and brought him down. They supported Chandrasekhar. So every time, it was either Congress government or Congress supported government, and in Manmohan he was 10 Janpath's appointee. So what happened? Power remained with 10 Janpath. Now that's not happening, and that's they are angry with. But that's the people's mandate. That's the democratic mandate.
Narasimha Rao also happened to be Prime Ministers of India. Javadekar ji, your knowledge of history is very deep.
You did not allow even his body to be brought in Congress headquarters. That is the Congress legacy. That you did not allow Narasimha Rao's body in Congress headquarters. That's the Congress legacy.
The Congress leadership was all at his funeral. I don't know about the itinerary about the funeral's entry or not, but the Congress leadership was there at his funeral.
Prakash Javadekar,
our respects.
Prakash Javadekar and Tom Vadakkan. Tom Vadakkan, are you a bit foxed tonight with the arguments that are being put on the other side, because there appears to be a lack of conviction in your own argument? Maybe as the Congress party spokespersons, you are reconsidering your position. Now, Mr. Narendra Modi...
an argument. Mr. Narendra... an argument. What are the deliverables?
Okay, here's the deliverable.
This Mela, this Mela that he's going to hold, is that... I'm asking you about the UFA moment. Where is the UFA moment?
I'm talking about the Dubai moment. I'm talking about the Abu Dhabi moment.
But
let's discuss the Abu Dhabi moment.
What are the deliverables?
Let's discuss the Abu Dhabi moment.
Like Santa Claus going to deliver it on next December.
Sir, let's discuss the Abu Dhabi moment. 1 second. Prakash Javadekar, you're responding?
Arnab,
okay, fine, quickly, because I can
understand that no other Prime Minister and not Congress Prime Minister, anybody who could create that kind of the all Indian diaspora, maybe Indian NRIs, maybe Indian citizens or maybe PIOs, but they are thronging all over. Now from Dubai, he'll go to San Francisco after some days and you will find same level of enthusiasm everywhere. And it's from all parts of, it's not Gujarat crowd. It's all over India. That's a phenomena he has created because he has created a hope in India.
I agree.
Has really rekindled
He's the
idea of
greatest
India.
event manager.
And that's
He's the greatest event manager that Free India has ever seen. The Prime Minister who's the greatest event manager that Free India has ever seen. This has never happened in foreign affairs.
But that you should be proud of.
I accept your argument.
You should be proud of. That
I'm proud that he's an event manager.
Okay,
because I can tell you.
Okay, 1 second.
I can tell you.
He needs to deliver.
I am now deeply involved in climate.
Prakash Javadekar.
Deeply involved in climate negotiation.
Prakash Javadekar and Tom Vadakkan.
An example. In Berlin last month, Angela Merkel and French President Hollande both praised. We were 30 ministers from 30 countries, important countries of the world. Environment was the topic. And both said that what Narendra Modi is doing is really eye-opening for all of the countries.
Okay,
because they are taking up
Prakash Javadekar.
That is a
Prakash Javadekar and Tom Vadakkan.
Prime Minister's moment.
I hate to break this up, but I now need to go live across to Dubai for that Madison type event that's going on there live. Thank you, gentlemen. Dubai Cricket Sports Stadium, where that was a fairly long speech, longer than expected. And how has it gone? Abhishek.
Arnab, it seems well received because the kind of reception that we have seen, everyone was fully involved till the end, though as you said it was a long speech. With me is an eclectic mix of the audience, supporters. Actually, Prime Minister was perhaps preaching to the already converted, and that is why it seems that they are all Modi fans. Aapko kaisa laga Prime Minister ka speech? बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. आप कितने घंटे से उनके लिए इंतजार कर रहे थे? आपने प्रोग्राम किया है कितने घंटे से?
4 घंटे से
4 hours you worked. And Arnab, a couple of more supporters of Prime Minister Modi and guests here. आपको कैसा लगा speech? How was the speech?
It was really very good. It was very good. We were waiting here since 2 o'clock, and you can see the reaction of the public, you know. And I am here since last 17 years, and for the first time, any Prime Minister from our country has visited. Like,
what are the points, takeaway points for you from the Prime Minister's speech? What were the important points according to you?
मोदी साहब ने काफ़ी बातों पे चर्चा की. उसमें से एक काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट जो ट्रेड एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट का है. जैसा उन्होंने कहा कि हिज हाइनेस क्राउन प्रिंस ने 4.5 लाख करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट इंडिया के लिए कमिट किया है. आई एम श्योर उसके अलावा भी इंडियन बिजनेसमैन जो यहाँ पे काफ़ी रिच और इन्फ्लुएंसर है, उनके भी इन्वेस्टमेंट कमिट किए गए हैं. ये सब प्रोग्राम से हमारे मेक इन इंडिया प्रोग्राम को काफ़ी बूस्ट मिलेगा.
Ma'am, how did you find the speech?
It was as motivational as it can get. It's been 34 years since the Prime Minister has come to Dubai and to the UAE, and we're pretty sure this 48 hours journey that he's taken is
Arnab, this is the view of audience here. Essentially, as I said, the Prime Minister was preaching to the already converted. But for me, the takeaway was Prime Minister's long sermon on terrorism, the manner in which he tried to bring into focus the hypocrisy of the rest of the world in even deciding what constitutes terrorism. That on a day when a temple in Bangkok has been attacked, Prime Minister saying that it's high time that the difference between good terrorism and bad terrorism is forgotten and a clearer definition of terrorism brought in. In fact, the Prime Minister threw an open dare about the deal that has been struck with UAE today as to it is targeted against whom. Those intelligent enough would really understand. So for me, takeaway from this speech of Prime Minister was his elaborate exposition on terrorism. But for these kids, for example, it was worth the wait that they waited for more than 5 5 hours to listen to their Prime Minister. For the business community, the takeaway was trade and investment figures that the Prime Minister informed these people about the deal that has been struck with the UAE. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Abhishek, for that live report from the Dubai Sports Stadium. Now, first and foremost, let's go across to our panelists, Prakash Javadekar and Tom Vadakkan. First of all, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming back and for waiting with us for so long. So, the takeaway is the direct condemnation of state-sponsored terrorism, Prakash Javadekar. Because we saw, just before we went into the speech, the Congress party picking holes in what the Prime Minister said. The Prime Minister said once again, unapologetically, that it took 34 years for someone to come here. He also said it took 17 years for an Indian Prime Minister to go, even to make the 70-minute visit to Nepal. That significant point on terrorism, do you expect any further politics on the issue, Prakash Javadekar, and what was your key takeaway before I take Tom Vadakkan's response?
I think the wisdom will prevail on Congress and they will not make any new controversy on this speech, which is a speech with countries listened in rapt attention because it talked about terrorism in detail and said discussion is the final way out. But we must deal with terror also emphatically. More than that, what he said was about the way SAARC countries should work together for each other's progress, and the SAARC satellite, the communication network, the infrastructure, the road and other facilities. And he, without saying so, very clearly said that Pakistan should come with it. If it doesn't come, it will leave behind.
That's quite direct,
so
Prakash
Javadekar. What he has given a very clear message.
That's quite direct. I just want to assess the Congress party's response on this, because, Mr. Vadakkan, if you're going to carp about this particular point, the joint statement between India and the UAE, which condemns the use of religion to justify acts of terrorism, as a diplomatic victory against Pakistan, because its proxies like Hafiz Saeed exactly do that. Now, to secure this kind of support against Pakistan and from Dubai make a very direct reference to Pakistan is a huge step, because it essentially denotes that via this visit, the Prime Minister or Government of India has managed to isolate Pakistan among Islamic countries. Isolate Pakistan among Islamic countries. Now, that's something at least that you should be congratulating the government for, shouldn't you, Mr. Vadakkan? Because your governments didn't do it. You don't need to be tight-fisted in your response.
Arnab, if that is the achievement and that is what has come on the table, it is welcome. But what I am worried about at this juncture is whether these are the takeaways. The Prime Minister spoke at length.
No, is it not an achievement? No, is it not an achievement? Is it not an achievement, Mr. Vadakkan? Mr. Vadakkan, please be very clear. One second. An anti-terror arrangement of this nature with the UAE is critical. I can turn around and ask you that Dawood Ibrahim is known to...
If that happens, let me caveat it properly. Please listen to me.
Why do you want to caveat?
Let me caveat it properly.
Why are you being so squeamish in complimenting the government of India for what it's done?
Incursions, my dear Arnab, is not a small figure. If they are able to achieve a breakthrough, we are the first one to welcome it. But I'm still counting on the incursions that are happening.
Not incursions.
12 incursions, Arnab. While we are talking, incursions are happening right now on the border. If you achieve something in UAE, I welcome it. But UAE is no
Sushant Sareen and Maroof Raza joining the debate.
To win peace in the region. You have a national security meet on the card.
Prakash Javadekar.
No, I have to go.
Prakash Javadekar, I know you have to go, but I think you're not getting, you are not getting, despite the speech and despite the point being made on what the government has achieved with the UAE, as far as a joint terror mechanism is concerned, the Congress party isn't looking at that. Now, does that matter to you, the lack of response that you're getting from the opposition in response to the question on whether the support against Pakistan is a huge achievement since it comes from a nation that has Islam as its state religion. Mr. Vadakkan, I would have expected a more congratulatory tone in your...
I accept it if there is movement at the ground.
Grudging acceptance.
When guns are firing at the border, what kind of peace are we talking about, Arnab?
I'll come
While
to
you and me are talking today, you are having incursions across the border.
Simple.
If you have to go to Dubai for peace, I think you are diluting the Indian position. We have isolated Pakistan.
Mr. Javadekar.
Internationally.
Mr.
What
Javadekar.
you're doing is trying to say that peace is being reinvented. I'm sorry, that has not been
achieved. That's a party political position to a government achievement. I would have expected a different response. Okay, Prakash Javadekar.
It's a historic achievement for many reasons. First, we broke ice with UAE, who is our best friend, but with $75 billion of promise of investment, with land for temple, more schools, labor condition, other welfare measures, and he has given a sense of participation in progress of both countries, UAE as well as India. The SARC spirit, which he wants to expand more and more, so Dubai, UAE and all others on the issue of terrorism and economic welfare. And on UN seat, he is galvanizing support. Congress may be unhappy, as I say, they are frustrated, but what can you help? That's a fact that India has arrived and India has got a new leader.
Okay, we'll take a break at this point. Prakash Javadekar, thanks. Tom Vadakkan, since you want to debate this further, Maroof Raza and Sushant Sareen will be joining you on the other side. Take a short break now. Okay, Sushant Sareen and Maroof Raza joining us. Sushant, start with you. This 2 or 3 direct references to Pakistan, first in the context of Pakistan's obstructionist strategy at the SARC, and more significantly when he said "samajhne wale samajh jayenge," which was clearly a reference to, you know, the good terror, bad terror definition and Pakistan's hypocritical approach. What was the intention, you feel, Sushant Sareen, between the Prime Minister's 2 or 3 fairly direct references to Pakistan, especially ahead of the NSA level talks?
No, I don't see it only in the context of the NSA level talks. I see it as a tectonic strategic shift which is taking place in the region. Until now, we had very close economic relationship with the Gulf countries, but now this seems to be translating into a much deeper strategic relationship. The thing is that, you know, earlier in the program you had mentioned that Pakistan has been isolated. I think Pakistan isolated itself. A breach was created, and both the Arab world as well as India have stepped in to fill that breach. Now, for example, the Pakistanis who have been taking a lot of money from the Arab world and practically living off that money, suddenly thought that because there is some money which the Chinese have waved at them, they don't need the Arab world. And when it was time for them to step up to the plate to assist the Arab world, in the war in Yemen, they stepped back. I think that didn't go down well with the Arab world, and some of the Arab leaders, including one of the junior ministers in the UAE, made some rather scathing remarks and actually warned the Pakistanis that they'll have a very heavy price to pay. Now, look at this visit in the context that it was originally scheduled for sometime in November. Something has clearly happened in the recent days for Mr. Modi to prepone his visit and go, and then strike the kind of deals which he has managed to strike, not only on the investment front, but more importantly on the issue of terrorism. The very fact that in a place like the UAE, he could say the kind of stuff he said, and without naming the country but taking a direct jibe at the Pakistanis, I think it is a very clear signal, both from the UAE as well as from India, of the shift which has taken place. And to my mind, that's a very, very significant shift. Also remember that the Pakistani, in the public discourse in Pakistan, a lot of people have actually been pointing fingers, although it's a common habit in Pakistan to point fingers at everybody else. But for the insurgency in Balochistan, a lot of Pakistani commentators have actually been saying that the UAE is behind some of the Baloch separatists because the UAE does not want the Gwadar port to come up because the Pakistanis are deluding themselves that it will stand as a counter to Dubai. So I think there was a cleavage which had already come in. I think the Indian diplomacy has been very deft, it's been very supple, and it has taken advantage of it.
Sushant,
and this will give us huge dividends if we can really play this the way it needs to be played.
Sure. Sushant, the question therefore is this a complete departure, or is this part of a changing trend? Because in November, you know, the UAE had also, Maroof, manned the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Indian Mujahideen, which also happened about 3 or 4 months after the new government came in. Now, is this part of an ongoing process which has been set in by the previous government? Is it a realization of the changing power situation in the region? And most importantly, can we now conclude that within the Islamic world, this new partnership between India and the UAE and today's, you know, joint terror announcement and joint anti-terror announcement, it will lead to a strategic shift from the UAE's side?
Arnab, there are several points that need to be addressed in your question, but I'd also like to bring out 1 or 2 points based on what Sushant has said. You see, my observations are as follows. One is that the UAE has been well thought through and chosen as the first destination for Mr. Modi's visit to the Arab world. The reason is, amongst the Arab countries, the UAE in particular has always been seen as moderate, more accommodative to interests of a large Indian population, more than 2 million, close to 3 million Indians out there. A large sort of trade partnership, I mean, it's one of India's biggest trade partners after US and China, 60 billion and rising. So there are those elements. But I think equally importantly also that the traditional heavyweights in the Arab world were not seen to be singing the same tune as New Delhi, particularly Saudi Arabia. And it has been seen that, you know, come hell or high water, the Saudis were backing Pakistan a bit more than they were backing us. There is also inferences about the Saudi hand vis-a-vis the ISIS game in West Asia and, you know, the whole hardline right-wing shift of certain groups in West Asia, which does have Sunni support from Saudi Arabia. So those are those elements. But I think the most important thing which Mr. Modi has done, as you've rightly put your finger onto it, is to show that, you know, here we have within the Arab world somebody denouncing, along with India, the use of religion as a path to be taken to settle your political agendas, the use of religion to use religion for atrocities, the use of Islam to further an argument where Islam really doesn't propagate the kind of stuff that the hardline groups are propagating. It's completely contrary to what the basic teachings of the Prophet were. So I think Mr. Modi has really now begun, and as Sushant has rightly said, this is part of a tectonic shift that's happening. But please also remember, the term good Taliban and bad Taliban was coined by the Americans, not by Pakistanis, because they wanted the good Taliban to come and do some kind of a deal with them before they could exit honorably from Afghanistan when the conferences took place in London, Chicago and Qatar. So therefore, there was a slight inference to the Americans. You may recall, Arnab, very much Mr. Modi's personal oratory skills were in play, just like he did at Madison Square Gardens, just like he's done elsewhere. But I think the most important thing is that he is now getting the UAE people to commit to invest in India, which I think is a serious new move in that direction.
My next question, gentlemen,
to take the discussion
my next question, gentlemen, I have just one more, is in the context of the big and abiding question on Dawood Ibrahim. Now, expectations will rise, Sushant Sareen. And Dawood Ibrahim is known to have properties in the UAE. If you have an understanding on counter-terrorism with the UAE, most Indians will say it's very significant because now is the time to show the commitment. The UAE must seize all of Dawood Ibrahim's assets in that country. Not just Dawood Ibrahim, but all of his aides who are living in the UAE, who were deported during this tenure and in previous tenures. Is that expectation going to bear any fruit?
Absolutely. I think, I don't know how much fruit it will bear, but I think what will happen is that if this joint statement and the necessary structures and systems are put in place, I think it becomes extremely important, because Dubai has traditionally been a place where many of these desperados left from India or who went to Pakistan also would do their business in Dubai. So if that crackdown takes place, that will be a huge blow to that network, number one. Number two, Dubai has been a center where these kind of groups have used for money laundering, which has also gone into funding terrorism. I think that also, if we see movement on that, it will be a huge plus in the fight against terrorism. So if you just take the formulation on the issue of terrorism, I think it is extremely significant. It's almost a diplomatic coup. Of course, we'll have to see how it plays on the ground. But I suspect that this old love affair between the Arab world and the Pakistanis seems to have gone sour. And I think if we can benefit from it, so much the better. Of course, I must also add that this is going to be a very, very complex strategic game. Because on one side, we will be dealing with the Arab world. On the other side, there will be the Iranians, who we also cannot ignore.
That's true.
Because that's our route into Afghanistan as well as into Central Asia. And finally, there's Israel. So there is this triangle. And unless we can walk this razor's edge of diplomacy and benefit from it, there is also a danger that we might fall between these three stools. However, it also gives us a tremendous opportunity to completely change the kind of paradigm which has operated in this region for the last so many years.
Well, that's interesting. Finally, Maroof, the way Modi phrased it, I found that quite smart, because Pakistan can't exactly turn around now and cry foul, because he was subtle in his references, and it's difficult for Pakistan to respond. Though they will be feeling the pinch today of what he says, but we didn't name Pakistan. At no point did he actually name Pakistan. He made a reference to those who support terror, but he didn't name Pakistan. He spoke about good Taliban, bad Taliban, those who misused it, but he didn't name Pakistan. So do you expect? He said Samajdar ko ishara kafi hai, he used that kind of language, but he didn't name Pakistan. So do we expect the Pakistanis to respond at all, or will they just be gritting their teeth tonight?
Well, Pakistan may pick up straws in the stray, some stray elements of his speech and look for straws in the wind. But I think what Mr. Modi also said, and if you look at it, it's very important in the context of what's going to happen in the next few weeks. He says at the end of the day, whatever your conflicts, whatever your grievances, you have to talk it out. The decisions are finally made on the table and not by any other means on the ground, implying you cannot use terrorism as an extension of your foreign policy, which Pakistan's been doing. He has also indicated to various other countries who tend to look at Pakistan's case somewhat sympathetically, that they are victims of terror. I think he has brushed that aside. He has used this to convey collective messages. Yeah. I think Sushant Sareen has brought it out beautifully. But I think there are a couple of other issues. One is the message to the neighborhood that, listen, India is progressing and we don't want to leave you guys behind. We want to share our satellite information with you. We want to share our progress with you. We will put our shoulders up with you whenever you are in distress, because we are your neighbors. Now, that's a serious message also to Pakistan, that you can either join the bandwagon or you can stay outside the game, as they have done in SARC. And as we've reminded the Pakistanis that we moved on in bilateral relations and trilateral relations, in triangles of growth in our east, and we are looking at relationships in our south. So I think there was a large message, but there was also the message to the diaspora. There was this message to the public there that, listen, whatever your nationality, which you may have taken, but your ethnicity is Indian and we won't abandon you. So I think there were several messages in it. Modi has performed very well as usual. I mean, he's a great performer on the stage. Arnab, you know it. We've seen it together at Madison Square Garden. But I think here there is a turning point in our relationship with the Arab world, which is very important. And he's rubbed that point in, that in the past for 34 years, I mean, it's appalling. 34 years, nobody is of seniority of the Prime Minister's level has gone to Dubai. In the past, nobody went to Sri Lanka for 26 years. For 28 years, nobody visited Seychelles. Yeah. I mean, what diplomacy were we doing? So we need to address our neighborhood and our near neighborhood before we get on to talking to people only in world capitals. And that's a point which I've always made. And I think Modi has again reinforced that. Yeah, there is more to come. There is more to come.
What Modi has done, Sushant, is that he has extracted the full strategic value of the new closeness between UAE and India. Now you can have a visit and say, let the symbolism be read by someone else. What Modi did quite smartly is that he used this particular speech to make it clear to the world outside, also to Pakistan, that India intends to extract, without apology, the full strategic value of this partnership, which is essentially to isolate Pakistan on the issue of terror, isolate Pakistan within the region and not be squeamish about it, which is a huge departure from the candy floss diplomacy, as we at times now call it, that the previous government had, especially in the last 5 years. Sushant, quick closing comment from you, Sushant.
Absolutely. You know, I think what is important is that let us not underestimate the UAE. It is almost like an Arabian superpower, both in terms of economy as well as in its military prowess. Number one. Number two, I think what Mr. Modi did was that, in a manner of speaking, he also ignored Pakistan. He positioned, you know, a 1.25 billion India with a fabulous economy which is growing, which is also an opportunity for the Arab world. He positioned India like that as a net security provider vis-a-vis a Pakistan which really does not stack up anywhere in this whole scene. So I think that was also a very, very clear juxtaposition of India and Pakistan, which in the natural course of things actually isolates Pakistan. Most importantly, and I think that is another big challenge for India, we have a vital stake in the stability of the Gulf. Because of the people present out there, because of our economic interlinkages with that place, I hope the government in India today, I would imagine they have applied their mind to it, that if push comes to shove, are we willing to stand up to be counted to ensure the stability of the Middle East? Not because we are going to be some kind of a mercenary force, but because it serves our vital strategic interest. I think that is something which remains to be seen in the future. But all in all, this was a fabulously successful visit, and the way, and I think what really endeared this speech to me was the fact that he addressed the blue-collar workers, he addressed the basic issues of guys, you know, who probably just go and work for a living out there, sometimes find themselves at a loose end, that the government of India is willing to stand up for them, is willing to make provisions for them, is willing to ensure that they're not thrown, you know, by the wayside and everybody forgets about these guys, that if they get imprisoned, if they... And all this while, I think the way he heaped encomiums upon the Gulf rulers, at least on the Abu Dhabi and the Dubai rulers, I think that was also very creditable, because that is what he was saying, that look, you know, guys, we can deal together. And I think that was extremely important message which he gave.
You know,
so both these things, addressing the blue-collar workers, addressing the rulers in the Middle East, and I think there are good days ahead.
Well, I mean, you know, Sushant, I think one of the reasons why you are happy tonight, and I suspect Maroof is also happy, is because for all those people who'd felt a sense of unease and uncertainty about what India's approach to Pakistan is, and whether, you know, there's this blow hot, blow cold, one step forward, two steps back, today has cleared a lot of cobwebs in that sense. It has been evident from today's speech, Maroof, that there will be an intelligent use of diplomacy, tact and strategy to isolate Pakistan, which perhaps is the best approach to dealing with them, as long as you can, you can keep this as a process which is continuous, which does not move in fits and starts, Maroof. So I suspect that both of you are being fairly subtle about it, that both of you are, with your known positions on Pakistan, would be pleased with that aspect, that today's speech removes that uncertainty from several people's minds on what is the Prime Minister and the government's approach to Pakistan. Maroof, closing comments from you. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Arnab, I think once again you've summed it up beautifully. I think really we are seeing a new approach to Pakistan. We are seeing a new approach to dealing with all the threats that India is facing beyond Pakistan. I mean, we've been talking about, the spread of Islamic terror and the kind of social media impact on a large number of people which we have to deal with. So I think that the government is becoming more savvy about dealing with it. I've always argued for Pakistan's isolation, and I think Mr. Modi is working towards that. But I think there are two other aspects that I would quickly want to bring out. One is that he referred to the seat in the UN Security Council. Unfortunately, from what I understand, the recent moves taken by Russia and China and now even the United States, I don't think that's going to happen in the near future for us. We have to carve a new strategic space for ourselves to be able to have sufficient leverage in world affairs. Yeah. The second thing is more immediate, that's the Gulf. The Gulf countries are of huge strategic importance to us. Our energy security depends largely on them. Apart from remittances to India, apart from the large Indian population, which is in excess of millions and millions, which is out there. So I think India would need to work out a strategy to be a net security provider to events and eventualities in the Gulf, because whatever happens there would have a direct impact on us and our economy.
Well, that depends on how much
Modi is moving in that direction.
That depends on how much reach out the government will be ready for. But I've really enjoyed this chat, which sums up beautifully the strategic importance and the key points of the Prime Minister's 1 hour, 10-minute speech there at the Dubai Sports Stadium. Maroof Raza and Sushant Sareen, enjoyed talking to you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.